Today I want to take a quick look at tasks and connectivity between TFS from a project management perspective and Visual Studio and Microsoft Project. Yeah, I have some questions about that and I want to address some of those. So just to let you know what I have a project in TFS called Solo Project I just made, and I also have a project, just a WPF app in here. It's not really important what the project is, and what I want to do is kind of connect up some of these things so I can put tasks in. Nice. If we divide up our work, it's nice because then we can divide up tasks, divide up work, divide up resources, and get things done. Also, it shows us where we're having problems. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways that things can be, they can interact. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just get out of all this stuff here, and all I want to have up here is my Solution Explorer, my Team Explorer. Okay. So of course you've seen this view a whole bunch of times, but we usually click on the Source Control Explorer here. What I can do is I can click on the Work Items area, and that is a way that I can put things into, I can put tasks into the blue screen, into TFS, initiated from Visual Studio. So all I need to do is go to this Work Items tab, pull this down, or hit it, and I can make a new task. I can make a bug. It's typically what I'm going to try to do is make, as I'm grading your applications, I'm going to try to put bugs in, and the reason you keep track of that is that I can make a bug, I can assign it to a person, which is obviously going to be you, and then you can fix it, and then I'll get a notification, being the project manager, that it's done. We can also add backlog items. Now backlog items are things that aren't necessarily associated to a particular task. Let's just say I want to add email to an application or something very generic. It's just one of those things that we add on. Same thing with features. Impediment, and some test cases. And then we can have some connectivity, which we'll see in a second. But I'm just going to make a task. So I click task, enter a title here, which you have to do. Create database design as an example. One thing that we probably all have to do. And here I'm going to assign it to myself, and the state is going to be to do, which is really the only option. New task block doesn't make any sense. We do have the idea of remaining work, and this can be anything that you want it to do. I could say 1 day. I guess not. Just one, whatever you want. Backlog priority. This is kind of where does it fall on the list of backlog items. An activity is one of these particular categories. Development, or design actually. And then we have an area, which is our particular project. This area is real nice. What I'd like you to use it for is maybe pasting in the task or any information that I give you. So a description of what this is, create in ERD for the Solo Project database, make it bold, do all kinds of stuff, and add pictures, insert an image. So that would be nice. You could do that later if you had something else. You can also link some attachments. So if you have some specifications, let's say, from the user meetings or whatever you want, you can put those right in here. Okay, which is very nice because let's say you are the person making these tasks and not necessarily the one doing the tasks. I could put in some notes here to the person that, and they can just come in and look at them and attach a file and look at the attached files. What do I got here? the schedule, let's just say, or whatever. So you can do that. You can also link to other tasks under the links. I link to other objects. I can see the whole history here. It's very handy. So I got some stuff. That's pretty much all I need for that. So I'm going to save that work item. Okay, now that's all I need to do. Okay, so it's attached to me. So now I can go over to my TFS board, and I can say, let's go to the task board. Let's get the best way to get to this stuff. Okay, that's not what I want. The idea that you really want here, excuse me, is one of the queries. So you click on this query tab right here. You can make these all you want, but I would like to, basically the ones assigned to me are the ones you really care about as a developer. So there is one query set up, a report, that says, show me the ones that are assigned to me, and you see here it is. It is a task, it's created a database, it's to me, it's great. There's pretty good connectivity between Visual Studio and TFS. I can email this. Send query as an email. Oh, look at that! Hey, that's what you should do to submit your assignment. Do that and try to get put my name in there. Is my name in there? Yeah. Well, it would be for mine, of course. So we can put that there. See if I think it's in yours. Then you could send me that right from there. That's pretty cool. Yes, I do want to exist. So that is doing it from there. I can also add tasks from here. If I go back to the home page, this is one spot. I can go in this area right here up in the middle, create a new task, and I can fill in those pieces of information from here. This would be maybe design or create. That's somewhere down there. Create the user interface. Also assign it. Make sure you assign it to somebody. Otherwise, it kind of falls off the task, falls off the face of the earth. So you can put whatever time what you want in there. I'm not sure how that works actually, that by perspective. Same sort of ideas, same fields. Save and close. Saving, and then it just gives me a little blurb, which is kind of nice. So then I can go back to the task board and my query, and I've got two of them. Double click on that to open it up, and away we go. Share queries, but within Teams, that kind of stuff is pretty nice. I can go to the next task by clicking my down and up arrows over here, or I can list them here and go back and forth via those. I can change the columns that show up by picking the columns. So that type of idea. So that's pretty nice. So let's get out of that. So now let's go back into Visual Studio for a second, and let's go back to that work tab area we were on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down, and I like to do new work items with Excel. New work items with Excel. And what I can do on my other screen here is it pulls this kind of thing up. It's kind of a work area. One thing I'm trying to figure out is how to get different columns in this particular view, because I asked you to do, the title, its task, and that kind of stuff, and who it's assigned to, but you can't put the remaining work in here. You can't put the predecessor, and I'll show you predecessors in a little bit, but you can do that type of thing. Oops, hello. So first off, there's a couple in there, so what I'd like to do is get the work items that are existing, and I can just do that, and then it'll ask me how do you want to get them. This is a drag. I don't like this, because you'll notice, oh, there they show up. It's kind of hard to find where they are sometimes. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes I'll set up my own query, so I can say get my tasks and pull them down, because you see that the assigned to me doesn't really show up here. I would like them to. And it might just be it's called the unfinished work in the case, but I'm not really sure about that. Anyways, we got them. Select them all, and then hit OK. And after you see that, they're going to come into our new Excel spreadsheet, and there they are. So that's great. Okay. When I'm done, I can publish them back up. I didn't really do anything. But let's say I'm going to add one, so I'm going to do test persistence layer. Is a task to do, assigned to me. Don't fill in this field here. Okay, we're good there. And now what I can do is publish. And once it gets a number that's kind of, you can tell, kind of made it. That's pretty quick. And now hopefully if I go back up to my, oops, this is visuals. Well, I should be able to see it here, shouldn't I, somewhere? Unfinished work. Let's try to see what we got here. Well, it didn't show up yet. Let's refresh it for sure. Let's see if we can get it in the blue screen. It shows up there. Interesting. The iteration path, it didn't really, it put it in the main project and not in what's called a sprint. The sprint is a bunch of tasks. I don't know if that was the problem. No. Well, I made it up there. Let's see if I can change the iteration path. Some of these things you might want to change when you get up here. And this will be kind of a testing thing. Change the area. I can't change the area. A couple of things we need to figure out. How can I drag it into a sprint? I don't know. And this, you start to see recent work items are starting to show up over here, which is very cool. And we can open them up. So I'm really, I need to put a 4 hours, days, whatever, in that, and then save that. And we have that kind of information. So I did put some remaining work on with something that shows up. The assigned to. I'll change the assigned to the read-only ID, and then save that. And let's see if I can get it to show up here. If I do a refresh on my work items, you see that it says read-only. So this is pretty good, actually. We need to figure out how to get more columns in here and a few more things that I'd like to work with. But this works very well. So if you're not a big fan of putting things in one at a time, you can go in here and type them all in. I didn't have to pull them down first time. Type them all in, type in your 20 things, and hit publish, and they'll go up. Well, that's pretty cool. And there's also the idea of indenting and outdenting. So I can specify that the user interface is a child of the create database design, which of course isn't true, but it's what I have right now. And I cannot perform this operation on a list that is not configured as a tree query. Okay, I guess that's upset with me. Add a tree level. I have to play with that a little bit. We can add subtasks and things like that. Project is pretty good at this. So let's, I can get out of this. I don't need to save it because it's up to the cloud already. And let's go back into Visual Studio again. It bothers me that this doesn't show up. Well, right now it's not going to show up because it's not assigned to me. And I think that's what we get. No, it should be. Yeah, I think it comes up as yourself, and it doesn't look like I can edit the query here. We could make a new query here to get all of them, but that's all right. Remaining work. Okay, a couple options here too. You see, there's some Excel and Office type things here. You can open up a work item in Microsoft Access. See if I just do that, what happens? Not Access, Excel. Does that open up everything? No, still just the stuff we can see. So I'm going to do some work on that, see if I can figure that out. But the last thing is dealing with Microsoft Project. Now, Microsoft Project is nice because you can do predecessors pretty easy, Gantt charts, and some resource ideas a little bit better than the two options we've talked about already. So what I'm going to do is do a new work item, new items in Microsoft Project. Now, of course, if you don't have Microsoft Project, that would make this a lot harder. So it goes right into a Gantt chart right away on this team view, which is really nice. Again, I can do my get work items, and I'll do them all and see what I can find. Look at that. I still only got the two. I didn't get that third bullet guy. Well, we'll just work with these two right now. And then hit OK. I think there's some ideas of yourself involved here. So I'm logged in as Brian Foote, of course. And what we can see here is a few things that are nice. I do get the fact that it's a task. I get the iteration path, I get the title, and I get the number. What I don't get is, and we got to figure out some mapping here by default, I've got to get this so it can have some duration. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, and even though we put remaining work on it, so there is a little bit of connectivity here. So I'm just going to say it takes a day for this, and I'm going to say it takes 2 days for this. And you could change here, I forget where, but there's a place where you can change the what's your default unit of time. It can be hours, it can be minutes, other stuff. You can see this is a Gantt chart over here. What it does is it kind of gives you a graphical view of a lot of the things that you want to see. Well, this says Brian Foote can do 2 tasks at one time, and I don't want that to be the case. What I'd like to do is I would like the task 2 to be after task 1, so I can't do number 2 until I do number 1. Not terribly true here, but you can guess there's things that'll happen like that. So what I'm going to do is tweak the predecessor field. So I'm going to say number 2 cannot happen until number 1 happens. And when I do that, you see that it did this little manipulation. Alright. And so it started today, so it figures it could be today. I can change all these if I want. And then it'll say, okay, then by that definition I'll be done. And apparently I work Saturday and Sunday. Well, that's not the case. There's some other configuration you can do in here too to do that. So we've got that put in place. Publish and refresh. Interesting. Can add columns. What else can I add in here? Holy cow, look at all that stuff. So I just have to figure out how TFS maps to project to get some of those other tasks in here. So I do like this idea. This is very handy. If I want a different resource, I can do that. And then I can publish them back up. Well, the only thing really changed is the predecessor. So it would be nice. I'm going to put this in here, and we'll see if I can find it anywhere. So what do we do? Change the predecessor. Now we have some dates. We didn't have these dates before, so we're trying to see where some of this works out. So let's publish. And schedule. Okay, super. And then we'll go back to the blue screen. And I'll go to 400, which doesn't exist in my list. Assigned to me, there are the 3. Must be this iteration path. And then I'll open up, what were we on, 99? Well, we're both. Open up those guys. And I did get the remaining work changed. So it did recalculate that. But right now I don't see anything about start and end dates, that kind of stuff. So you can kind of see how that goes. So it's not perfect, but it's a way to connect our TFS activity to project ideas. So let's just pretend now I'm the project manager, and I come in here and I do a new bug and put in a fix have to be assigned to one we have. Fix your horrible design for the UI. I will assign this to Mr. Read Only. Now I guess we'll assign it to me. State of new. A defect reported. Okay. Effort. Severity. Area is a solo project, and we can put some more stuff in here. Steps to reproduce the bug, a test case that failed, tasks if we want. So you could actually add tasks about this guy. So bugs have tasks, can have tasks. So that's kind of interesting. And where does that happen? Then I get an email. Save. Thought the email happened already, but we'll just try to kick the email. Hopefully I'll get 2. Close. And what else do we have under work? Work is how I get to that stuff. I think it's got a little different color. Very exciting. Got a different work item. And it assigned to me, so it's why it's in my list in the first place. So it is a backlog item too. Anyway. Okay, so there's some interaction things that you can see between Microsoft Project, Microsoft Excel, and Visual Studio. So again, I'm really looking for some tasks in TFS with remaining work. I would love it if you would have a Gantt chart, meaning you have some Microsoft Project stuff, and you could do that. You may have to do it on campus. I'm not requiring it, but I would love that. And then make sure you keep track of your actuals when you start doing a lot of that. So, hope this was helpful, and I'll get this published out pretty soon. Have a great day.